بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. Today, inshallah, I'm going to talk about the Wilayat Takwini according to one of the most controversial figures in the not Sunni world, among the Wahhabi world, and Salafi world, which is Ibn Taymiyah. So those who are against Istighasa and Tawassul, usually they are the followers of Ibn Taymiyah. But we want to study to see that what is the view of Ibn Taymiyah about such a wilaya, to see that whether is there such power for human being according to Ibn Taymiyah or not. In his book Majmu' al-Fatawa, volume 4, from page 371, he starts a discussion whether the angels are higher or righteous human beings. Which one is superior to the others? Then he mentions that some people, they have said that the angels are better than man. And Ibn Taymiyyah is to reject it, to say that the righteous people from human being are higher than the angels. After mentioning some arguments, he says those who say that the angels are better than man, they have not established justice here. Then he says فأقول فضل أحد الذاتين على الأخرى إنما هو بقربها من الله تعالى. The one, which one is higher? The one who is closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If angels are closer to Allah, they are higher than us. If human being or some from the human being, they can be close to Allah, closer than the angels, then humans are higher than the angels. Then he tries to go through the different arguments and to support the view that he has. He says that they may say that the angels, they have higher knowledge. So because they have higher knowledge, their knowledge is more than us, and they are the medium between the knowledge to be given to man, that's why they are better than human being. He says, but this is not a fact. When we look at the knowledge which is given to man, some of the knowledge is given to man through angels, that is true. But the point is that there is a knowledge that man has, and even the angels, they don't have it. He says the knowledge that Allah talks about, the knowledge which is given to human being, وَمَا كَانَ لِبَشَرٍ أَن يُكَلِّمَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا وَحْيًا أَوْ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ أَوْ يُرْسِلَ رَسُولًا. Then he says there are the different ways that a prophet can receive knowledge. Then he says, Allah فَبَيَّنَ أَنَّ الْكَلَامَ لِلْبَشَرِ عَلَى ثَلَاثَةِ أَوْجُهٍ. Allah speaks to man in three ways. One of them is by the interference of the angels. But the two others, there is no role for the angels here. وَأَيْنَ الْمَلَكُ مِنْ لَيْلَةِ الْمِعْرَاجِ. The angels were not there between the Prophet and Allah at the night of Mi'raj. وَيَوْمَ التُّورِ, between Musa alayhi salam and Allah in Tur. وَتَعْلِيمِ الْأَسْمَاءِ, and also teaching the names to Adam alayhi salam. So when Allah taught the names to Adam alayhi salam, it wasn't by the interference of the angels, and they were not there. So man can receive the knowledge, the prophets can receive knowledge without the angels to be the medium. So not always to say that the knowledge can come to man through the angels, to say that always they have knowledge that man doesn't have. So when we consider the knowledge, we see that there are knowledge that is there for human being that the angels do not have. And he says, he mentions some examples, and he says the knowledge that was there for the human, for the prophets, without the interference of the angels, are much more than these examples that I mentioned. Then he says the other aspect that you may consider the priority of angels over human being is power. وَمِنْهَا الْقُدْرَةِ وَزَعَمَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَنَّ الْمَلَكَ أَقْوَى وَأَقْدَرُ. Some people may think that the angels are stronger than man. And they mention the story of Jibreel, بأنه شديد القوى, that he has a very strong power. وأنه حمل قرية قوم لوط على ريشة من جناحه. And Jibreel carried the Qawm Lut, the tribe of Lut, on one of the feathers of his wing. So he has such a power. Then Ibn Taymiyyah says, فَقَدْ أَتَى اللَّهُ بَعْضَ عِبَادِهِ أَعْظَمَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. Allah has given to some of His prophets such power which is much higher than the power of Jibreel. فَأَغْرَقَ جَمِيعَ أَهْلِ الْأَرْضِ بِدَعْوَةِ نُوحٍ. Allah made the flood to run at the time of Nuh by the dua of Nuh, that it drowned all the people on the earth. Then he says إن من عباد الله. Then he says إن من عباد الله من لو أقسم على الله أن يزيل جبلا أو الجبال عن أماكنها لأزالها. There are among the servants of Allah those who, if they ask Allah to move a mountain from its place, Allah will do that. And he says, you shouldn't say that إن ذلك يفضل بقوة خلقت فيها وهذا بدعوة يدعوها. You may not say that Jibreel has such a power by himself, but Nuh asked Allah and Allah did that. So the function of Nuh was only dua, but the function of Jibreel was the existential creational act. Why? He says, because dua and the power, both of them they have the same essence here. لأنهما في الحقيقة يؤولان إلى واحد هو مقصود القدرة. He says power is, what matters in power is the result. Nuh can have such a dua that the whole earth could be punished. Jibreel can punish a nation, can punish a tribe. So when we look at the things that Jibreel has done and Nuh has done, we see that what Nuh did is greater. The result is important. The result is that Nuh has such a dua, such a calling that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer. Because as a result, the power to be for Jibreel or to be for Nuh is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Ibn Taymiyyah refers to the hadith that we already discussed from Sahih Bukhari and also from our sources. He says that وَقَدْ جَاءَ فِي الْأَثَرِ يَا عَبْدِي أَنَا أَقُولُ لِلشَّيْءِ كُنْ فَيَكُونُ. I am the one who, when he wants something to happen, says be and it is. Then Allah says أَتِئْنِي أَجْعَلُكَ تَقُولُ لِلشَّيْءِ كُنْ فَيَكُونُ. If you follow me, if you obey me and be a servant to me, if you are my abd, then you will also say to things be and it will be. You will be gifted such a power. أَنَا الْحَيُّ الَّذِي لَا يَمُوتُ. I am the Hayy, I am the living, that there is no death and demolishing and perishing for it. أَتِئْنِي أَجْعَلُكَ حَيًّا لَا تَمُوتُ. If you obey me, if you worship me, I will make you a Hayy, a living that will not die. Then he says, فَهَذِهِ غَايَةٌ لَيْسَ بَرَاءَهَا مَرْمَى. This is a goal, this is a destination that there is nothing more than that. To reach to such a level and such a power that Allah, you can do things that Allah can do. كيف لا وهو بالله يسمع. When a person reaches to the position of servitude to Allah and ubudiyya and abd, then بالله يسمع. He hears through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وبه يبصر. He sees through Allah. And he touches things by his hands through Allah. Like Musa alayhi salam, he puts the stick in the sea and it is split. وَبِهِ يَمْشِي. By the power of Allah he is walking. فَلَا يَقُومُ لِقُوَّتِهِ قُوَّةً. So there will be no power to be to stand against such a power. This is what we call it Wilayat Takwini. Ibn Taymiyah is not mentioning and using the term Wilayat Takwini, but he is referring to the concept. Then he says in the page 379, وَأَمَّا النَّفْءُ الْمُتَعَدِّي وَالنَّفْءُ لِلْخَلْقِ وَتَدْبِيرُ الْعَالَمِ. If you say that the angels are better because they can benefit the others, they can have the interference in the creation. فَقَدْ قَالُوا هُمْ تَجْرِي أَرْزَاقَ الْعِبَادِ عَلَى أَيْدِيهِمْ. The sustenance of the human being comes, and also others, come through their hands. They are the medium to give the rizq and sustenance to the creation of Allah. Ibn Taymiyah doesn't deny this. So if Allah is a raziq, if we say Allah is a razaq, Allah is the sustenance giver, so Ibn Taymiyyah agrees here that angels also can do that. I mean, angels are the medium. So if angels are to give us sustenance, this is not shirk. The sustenance comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but tajri arzaqul ibad ala aydihim, by their hand. They bring it to you. And this is not shirk. And he says, if they say so, we answer them, وَالْجَوَابْ أَنَّ صَالِحَ الْبَشَرِ لَهُمْ مِثْلُ ذَلِكَ. The righteous people also can do those things. But أَكْثَرُ مِنْ, and even more than that, more than what the angels can do, righteous human beings, they can do that. And he says, and the greatest thing that the human being can do in this being medium between man and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, شفاعة الشافع المشفع من المظلمين وشفاعته في البشر كي يحاسبوا وشفاعته في أهل الجنة حتى يدخلوا الجنة. He says the greatest of rizq and interference is that the shafa'a, intercession that they will do, and people through that will enter into Jannah. Which one is greater? To give some food in this dunya, or to make a person enter into Jannah on the Day of Judgment? He says there, a man can do that. A man like a prophet, and the prophets, they will do shafa'ah for people. And that kind of interference and being medium between man and Allah is greater than just giving some bread and water to people in this dunya. So you see that even Ibn Taymiyyah accepts this wilaya for human being. Of course, he has problem with tawassul and istighasa in specific occasions. But anyhow, he doesn't deny Wilayat Takwini. He doesn't deny the power which is there for human being. And because of that, he's about to say that in all these aspects, man can be higher than the angels. In his other book, Sharhul Aqeedah al-Wasitiyah, there are different shuruh and explanations for this. One of them is by Khalid bin Abdullah al-Muslih. I bring it from his book, volume 1, page 198. Ibn Taymiyyah says, وَمِنْ أُصُولَ أَهْلِ السُّنَّةِ التَّصْدِيقُ بِكَرَامَاتِ الْأَوْلِيَاءِ. This is one of the beliefs of Ahlus Sunnah, to accept and to confirm karamat that awliyaullah can do. Awliya could be the prophets or great servants of Allah. وَمَا يَجْرِ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ أَيْدِهِمْ مِنْ خَوَارِقِ الْعَادَاتِ. And the extraordinary things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does through their hand and by them. في أنواع العلوم, these extraordinary acts could be some knowledge, concerning knowledge, والمكاشفات, some intuitions, أنواع القدرة, different kinds of power and acts, والتأثيرات, and influence that they have in the creation. And he says, like the miracles which has been mentioned for the previous nations in Surah Al-Kahf and in other places, and also in the Ummah of the Prophet and the Sahaba and the other generations of Muslimin, ila yawm al-qiyamah, till the Day of Judgment, we see that awliyaullah, they can have karamat. Then he says, وَهَذَهِ الْكِرَامَاتِ وَخَوَارِقُ الْعَادَةِ أَنْوَاءٌ. There are different types for these karamat and for these miraculous acts that awliyaullah, they can do through that power that they have, given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, Al-awwal ma huwa min jins al-ilm kal-mukashafat. First type of the miraculous acts that they do is it is of the nature of knowledge, like the intuitions they have. وَهِيَ مِن جِنْسِ الْإِلْمِ الْخَارِقِ. This is a kind of supernatural knowledge that they have. فَإِذَا كَانَ الْقَلْبُ مَعْمُورًا بِالتَّقْوَى. When the heart is revived by taqwa, then this heart will have intuitions. Knowledge will come to it. And as much as the power of Iman is strong in the heart and the heart is enlightened by Iman, the knowledge that the inkishaf and the seeing the unseen will be much more clear and greater for them. وَكُلَّمَا ضَعُفَ الْإِيمَانُ ضَعُفَ الْكَشْفُ. And as much as the Iman and the strength of Iman is weak in the heart of the heart, the intuitions will be weaker. وهذا النوع من الكرامات له صور, and this type, which is the knowledge, it has its own, it has different types. فتارة بأن يسمع العبد ما لا يسمعه غيره. Sometimes they hear things that the others cannot hear. وتارة بأن يرى ما لا يراه غيره. Sometimes they see things that the others cannot see, whether to be in their dream or when they are awake. And sometimes it is through a kind of revelation to them. And these are different types. Then he goes to explain each of them. He says the second type of miraculous acts that awliyaullah have, the karamat, ما هو من جنس القدرة والملك كالتصرفات الخارقة للعادة. The second type is the power that they have and the ownership they have to do extraordinary things in their life. وما كان من باب القدرة فهو التأثير. This, the second type that we are talking is ta'thir, is the influence that they have in the creation, that they can change things, they can give shifa to a blind person, they can increase a small food to abundant, and so on. Or even sometimes it could be dua, like calling against a person, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes that person. الثالث ما هو من جنس الغناء عن الحاجات البشرية. Another type of miraculous acts that they have because of that power is that they might be needless to the needs of a human being, like eating and drinking. For a long time they can avoid eating, they can avoid drinking. وهذه الكرامات إنما حصلت ببركة اتباع رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. These karamat, these miraculous acts that awliyaullah they do is by following the teachings of the Prophet. فهي من جملة الآيات الدالة على صدق الرسول الذي اتبعوه. Then this itself is one of the proofs for the truthfulness of the Prophet that they followed. They followed the teachings of the Prophet, and by the following that Prophet, they reached to such powers. So their power, their extraordinary acts is a sign of truthfulness of that Prophet and the teachings that the Prophet brought to human being. So you see that even Ibn Taymiyah, even though he doesn't accept tawassul to tawassul to awliya, but he doesn't deny this wilaya, this authority which is given to human being to be in the form of knowledge or to be in the form of a power to do extraordinary acts in the creation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.